Hello everybody, Sandra here from Createinspain, and today I'm coming to you to show you a stencil bundle that I have designed. Now, some of these stencils are regular A6 size, some of them are a little bigger, some of them are relatively plain, and some are relatively fancy. So there's something for everybody in there. So whether you want something for the man in your life or the lady in your life, then there should be something in here that you can use. Now I've cut these from card so that you can see them largely, but don't forget that if you're cutting your stencils from card in the first place and they are of the appropriate size, you can always use these as a layer in your card. You don't have to just keep them as a stencil. If you want to cut them out easily with your cutting machine, what I suggest you do is make sure you have a very sticky mat. Not so sticky you're not going to be able to get anything off of it again, but pretty sticky, because that will save you lots of weeding problems. If you have to sit there and pick out little bits because they're just hanging in there, that's really irritating. Whereas you can use a scraper like this on your mat to get rid of lots of little bits in one go. It'll be quicker. So the first one I have here is pretty self-explanatory, nothing particularly fancy, but what you can do is you can use this more than once. So for example, I have a piece here where I did the original stencil and then I moved off to one side and did it again in a slightly different shade. So you can get some interesting effects with that. I actually quite like the look of this as a panel for a card now that I've used it as a stencil. I just like the colour variation on it. But what I did with this one was I did this one twice, but I flipped it over and used it in the other direction. So you've got the smile lines in one way and then you turn it over and you've got the smile lines in another. So you get a different effect altogether with that one. This next one is a set of gears, and this is designed so that you can go over it once and then move it and do it again, so you can get gears overlapping and so on. Now with this one, what you must be aware of is these little threads almost which hang on to the centre. They're very fragile, so you do need to make sure that you cut it out of a reasonable weight cardstock or plastic, and that you don't scrub when you're stenciling. You have to dab on that one. This one is a straightforward lozenge one, and I've got a sample here. This one, which is slightly Moroccan looking, it's little crosses, and I think this front one, now that's been used as a stencil, would look really nice as a card panel. I think that would be quite a fun one to do. And this time what I've done is I've used different colours, but I've come in a triangle shape with the colours. So rather than straight lines of variation, it's like triangular, but that's a good bit of fun. One of my favourites is this one. Now this reminds me very much of a print that I had on a dress when I was a kid. But what I did here was I started off with a yellow, went over with an orange, and then added some fog grey. I think that looks fun. And I really love the look of that stencil as well, now that it's got the inks on it. So that's those. Now I'm going to move this piece of paper out the way, because that was there just for contrast. And I'm going to show you another couple of stencils that I've done. So this one, put it on the left here, and I'm just going to use a tiny bit of tape to hold it down. Normally when I'm stenciling, I will apply a temporary adhesive on the back of the stencil because you don't want your inks getting underneath. But because I'm using these brushes, it's probably not going to be too bad when it's actually done. Now the other thing that you can do with stencils, if you're very clever and very careful and you have a cutting machine, you can put two pieces of card, one on top of the other, and kiss cut the top one to the bottom one. And if you have used something like Eileen's Tack It Over and Over, you can then peel away the top card, which is your stencil, but it will leave your bottom design, what I'm inking now, would be left on the card underneath, which means you get absolutely zero wastage, which is always nice. It's always nice to have zero wastage. And once you've done that, because you have because you have an adhesive on the bottom layer, you can actually take the stencil off, leave the layer behind below. Underneath that will still be sticky, so you can just put glitter all over it and get really, really glitzy results. And then of course you can use the stencil, and you can probably use the stencil once you've actually inked it up. If you were using this sort of ink, you can go in, ink it up, and then use the card stencil as a card front as well. So there's all sorts of things that you can do, and you just won't waste anything, which is brilliant. While I'm at it, I'm going to do the other design before I do the reveal. So this is the last one that I've got. So you've got an awful lot of stencils in this pack. So you'll be stenciling everything in sight. So that's the first one. Put it out this way, I think. And there's the other one. There is also another pattern in the set, mandala type thing. So there we have it, a whole bunch of stencils for you to use. I hope you enjoy them. I will link the file below, and up here I'll link some more videos for you to watch. Take care.